Welcome to A Slice with Dice, where education meets inspiration and leadership meets real life. I'm Corey Alderdice, Executive Director of the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. With 2 decades in school leadership, I'll share what I've learned from walking the tightrope between policy and practice, especially when it comes to doing right by gifted students and their futures. Ready to dive in? Here's this week's Slice. There's a new op-ed out of Teachers College that's been making the rounds lately. The headline alone stops you in your tracks. Schools are accommodating student anxiety and making it worse. The authors, Brett Lovett and Alex Jordan, argue that we've gotten so focused on protecting students from discomfort that we're accidentally reinforcing the very anxiety we're trying to reduce. And in some ways, they're not wrong. The piece touches on a nerve because it exposes something we all sense but rarely say out loud. We've built a culture in education that equates feeling uncomfortable with feeling unsafe. And once those two ideas blur together, it's easy for schools to start designing environments that prioritize comfort over growth. Now, Lovett and Jordan point out that anxiety at its core is an avoidance disorder. When you let someone repeatedly sidestep the thing that scares them, their world doesn't get bigger, it shrinks. Schools, in their well-intentioned effort to help, have become expert at shrinking the world for students who are anxious. A student who dreads giving a class presentation. We let them record it privately. Another can't handle a group project? Well, we let them work alone, and sure enough, the student feels calmer for the moment. But the message they've absorbed is subtle and, in a way, corrosive. You can't handle this. Now, here's where the metaphor of scaffolding instead becomes useful. Every educator knows that scaffolding is essential for learning. We put temporary supports in place to help students reach something they couldn't reach on their own. But scaffolding is only meant to last until the structure is strong enough to stand. We forget that when we turn supports into permanent fixtures. The scaffolding becomes the building. I've been thinking about this a lot through real examples. A student insists they must wear noise-canceling headphones during an assembly because of sensory issues. I get it, those spaces can be overwhelming, but I also worry if that accommodation never fades, if it becomes the only way a student can function in a crowd. What happens when they're sitting in a college lecture hall, or attending a staff meeting, or listening to a keynote at a conference? At what point does protection stop being protective? The better question might be, how do we design scaffolds that actually build something over time? A temporary scaffold gives a student access to the experience. They're present but supported. Maybe they start by sitting near the back with those headphones, and over time, we lower the volume, shorten their reliance, and move them closer to the center. They're exposed to discomfort in small, intentional doses, and each time their tolerance, their adaptation grows a little. Eventually, the external structure, the headphones, comes down, and what's left is an internal one. Self-regulation, confidence, resilience. That's the essence of education, isn't it? We start with external structures, rules, routines, supports, but the goal is always internalization. We're not trying to make students dependent on our structures forever. We're trying to help them build their own. The problem is that many of the systems we've built around student wellness treat scaffolds as endpoints rather than as tools. Accommodations become indefinite with no plan for fading. We talk about meeting students where they are, but we forget the second half of that sentence in helping them move forward. When we freeze students in the moment of need, we trap them in it. Now, that doesn't mean we swing to the other extreme and tell every anxious kid to just toughen up. Anxiety is real, and for some students, the path toward growth is slower and more complicated. But what the research shows, and what Jordan and Lovett remind us, is that facing anxiety is the only proven way to reduce it. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You have to move through it. What's fascinating, though, is that schools are the perfect laboratories for this kind of growth. Every day, students have to navigate presentations, tests, performances, social dynamics. These are situations that naturally spark anxiety. If we can teach them to encounter those experiences with tools and support instead of avoidance and escape routes, we'd be cultivating genuine resilience. But that takes courage on the part of adults, too. It's hard to watch a student struggle, even when you know it's healthy. We're conditioned to equate good teaching with immediate comfort. We praise ourselves when the crying stops, when the anxiety quiets, when the student seems okay again. But sometimes that silence means we've taken the challenge away rather than helped them face it. It's like teaching someone to ride a bike and never letting go of the seat, and you tell yourself you're preventing a fall, but you're also preventing balance. I think that schools need a cultural shift, away from seeing discomfort as failure and toward seeing it as data. A student's anxious reaction isn't proof that something's gone wrong, it's a signal that they've reached an edge. Our role isn't to move the edge closer to them, it's to help them build the strength to cross it. That means accommodations should come with a timeline, a strategy, and a goal that points beyond the accommodation itself. It also means teaching students that growth often feels uncomfortable, that discomfort is the evidence of change, not evidence of danger. The goal is never to eliminate fear, it's to give students proof over time that they can handle it. So maybe we keep the scaffolds, but we make sure we design them with an end in mind. Supports that flex, fade, and eventually fall away, leaving something behind more durable. Confidence, competence, and a sense of agency. Because the truth is, every student will eventually have to operate without us. When the assembly becomes a college lecture, when a teacher becomes a boss, when the accommodation plan becomes real life, what remains shouldn't be the scaffolding. It should be the structure they built underneath it. That's our job, to make sure the scaffolds don't stay too long. A Slice with Dice is a production of Aldercube. Thanks for making time to reflect with me. If you're finding value in these episodes, I hope you'll subscribe and help spread the word. Until next week, lead boldly, listen closely, and keep pushing forward. I'll see you then.